The new GTA Online update is almost here, and today on the show we have all of the news and information in regards to all of our new money bonuses, big discounts, free vehicles for you to unlock for $0, some extra free rewards and challenges for players to participate in, and more for this next week here in GTA Online. There's a lot to go over today. We're going to be diving into it all, and this video will serve as your comprehensive sneak peek at the new GTA Online event that goes live in just about 12 hours or so from the time this video gets posted. Remember, that's about 4 a.m. Central Time in the US, or UTC -6. It's that time zone at 4 a.m. So convert that to your local time zone to get the time it goes live locally for you. With that said, we're going to jump into things here. Starting with some of our rewards for this week. All you need to do is log into the game and you will unlock the Panther Tour jacket. We saw this reward last week, but it continues this week. Something I didn't know is that this is actually a pretty rare piece of clothing as an unlock here in this game, because we haven't seen this jacket since 2020, and so it actually is that rare. And now, I guess less so because it's returned to the game now. You can argue that, of course, but since then it was definitely one of the more rare pieces of content that you can unlock here in GTA. Now, in addition to that, if you participate in the Cayo Perico survival, you will unlock the I Survived Cayo Perico t-shirt within 72 hours. There was definitely some confusion last week on kind of how you actually unlock that. I think realistically that actually turns out to be something you unlock for completing all 10 waves of the Cayo Perico survival. I don't know why we keep seeing it here in the reward section, because it was incorrect last week. But nonetheless, let's get into the bonuses now. So for some of our money bonuses this week, we do have double money and RP on all payphone hits in the game. So normally those are paying out $45,000. They take you less than 5 minutes to complete typically. They have a 10-minute cooldown as soon as you complete it, but still, you can do one basically every 10 to 15 minutes here. And it actually is a decent way to make money, split up your grind, do some other stuff in between while the payphone hits are on cooldown, and instead of paying out $45,000, normally they're paying out $90,000. That's about as good as this weekly update gets in terms of money-making opportunities, because the other opportunities we have are double money and double RP on the Assault on Cayo Perico Adversary mode, which we saw last year as well when that was actually added to the game. We have Cayo Perico Survival, once again continuing with the double money and double RP, or 4 times money for GTA+. All hot ring races in the game are paying out double money and double RP, and the community race series as well is paying out double money and double RP. The weekly challenge for this week, it's also sort of a repeat here. Any player in the game who completes all 10 waves of a survival, well, they will get $100,000 for the weekly challenge, and also unlock the Buccaneer outfit here in the game. Now let's talk about our discounts for the week, because we don't have quite as many as last week, and I would argue that they're not as good, but we do have some of my fan favorite picks here, at least one of my favorite vehicles in the game. So let's start off. We have 30% off the Karen Sultan Classic this week, 30% off the Coil Raiden, 30% off the Anis RE7B, 30% off the Rune Zaba, which is one of the more armored vehicles in the game, one of the top 15 most armored, 30% off the Lampadati Viserys, definitely a top 3 vehicle for me in terms of just my personal preference for a car. If you haven't purchased this or you don't own it, this is definitely worth an upgrade. You can customize it to look so cool. All paint jobs look super good on it. Definitely worth the purchase. A little bit squirrely, but it is fun to drive nonetheless. 30% off the Ubermacht Reinhardt, 30% off the Dinka Blista Conjo, as well as 30% off the Western Rampant Rocket. So we don't have too many opportunities for discounts, just 8 in total. No property discounts. It would have been nice considering we're not getting, essentially a business bonus. Payphone hits are part of the agency, but I would not necessarily count payphone hits as a business bonus for the week, because it's just one small facet. But nonetheless, payphone hits are on that double money. For the Salvage Yard robberies this week, these are of course available until September the 10th. So let's talk about it. The standard range vehicle for this week is featured in the Duggan robbery, and it's the Ubermacht Sentinel Classic. The Hijack Rustin is going to be this week's mid-range vehicle. You could steal this as part of the podium robbery for the week. And then the Grati Turismo Omaggio once again is the top range vehicle for the week, featured in the Gangbanger robbery. None of these are going to be claimable. And of course, goodbye cargo ship robbery. Once again, we're not going to see that probably for another 6, 7, or 8 weeks. I don't know why Rockstar's repeating the Salvage Yard robbery so much, but it just is what it is. Now let's talk about the free vehicles. The 2 free vehicles you can get for the week. The first one, the Lucky Wheel podium vehicle that you can get at the Diamond Casino and Resort, is the Pinot La Carousse, which is actually a pretty good armored, electric, as well as good money tech vehicle you can get here in this game. And then at the LS Car Meet, your prize ride for the week is the Anus Paragon R, and you can win this by placing top 2 in the LS Car Meet series races for 3 consecutive days in a row. So not too hefty of a challenge, but placing either first or second may be, you know, tougher or easier depending on the kind of player you are. Drag races are still probably the easiest way to get these vehicles every single week. The NUS Paragon R is definitely juice that's worth the squeeze in trying to unlock this week. The NUS Paragon R is an absolutely awesome car. Not as good as the Armored Paragon R you can get for completing the casino story missions, but nonetheless a vehicle that's worthy of unlocking this week. Also at the LS Car Meet, your premium test drive vehicle for the week is the Benefactor Sterling GT, and then your standard vehicles at the test track and the test drive vehicles you can actually purchase if you want. We have the Albany Alpha, the Benefactor Streeter, as well as the Benefactor XLS. And now those used to previously be removed from the game, and I don't know if they were added back permanently to in-game websites. I don't think so. I don't remember seeing them on the list on the Money Fronts DLC cars that return, but nonetheless, those are the ones we have. And then at Simeon's, transitioning over there, at that premium deluxe motorsport in-game vendor and car dealership, we have featured here a bunch of bikes. We have the LCC Hexer, we have the LCC Avarice, the Western Cliffhanger, the Benefactor Serrano, which is definitely a car that's worth unlocking. We saw the Schlagen GT on discount last week. If you want, you know, a different version of that, the Benefactor Serrano is definitely worth a purchase. And then the Weenie Dynasty. At Luxury Autos, you can also check out the Anis 300R as well as the Ubermax Sentinel GTS. So some more standard cars that normally, you know, well, they're not on discount for the week, but maybe we'll get like black stock wheels on these cars or something that makes them just a little bit more unique, or some, you know, exclusive livery or something like that. And then when it comes to our gun van discounts, you can get 30% off the battle rifle this week if you'd like to unlock that. And all GTA Plus members can get 40% off the military rifle. And then for this week's FIB priority file, if you own the Garment Factory, it's the Project Breakaway file. This week's normal time trial is Raton Canyon. The HSW time trial is Terminal to Chiliad Mountain State Wilderness. And then the premium race for this week is Down the Drain. And so as you can see, we have a lot of repeats in terms of weekly update content for this week. Doesn't necessarily make this week awful on its own, but if you didn't like last week and you thought it was awful, then obviously this week isn't going to be much better. But I would definitely say the saving grace for this week are the payphone hits. They're super fast, super easy, they're fun to farm. You can farm them for the most part, maybe not back to back to back with no cooldown, but you can consistently do them throughout the hour. And also, it's not going to take up so much of your grind because of that cooldown. So you just take a few minutes to do some other activity, do your export mixed goods, do the MC bike delivery, do some auto shop client jobs, go and tell Lupe and your other warehouse techs to source cargo for you. You know, check away on Cayo Perico heist setups, or the Dr. Dre contract, or the Oscar Guzman Flies Again storyline, or Cluck and Bell Farm Raid. You know, you have enough time in between each cooldown of a payphone hit to check off one of those missions if you so choose. And so you could definitely mix and match the payphone hits with other content this week to make some good money. Anyways, we are going to be wrapping things up right here, but I will see you guys bright and early for the weekly update guide tomorrow, going in depth and in detail on all of the vehicles, rare and remove, the discounted ones, etc. Thank you guys so much for watching. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Make sure to check me out over on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram, specifically twitch.tv/HazardousHDTV for more GTA Online